Hey guys, we are back with another video and welcome to Video Evolution in the world of videos. This video is a very important video as this is the miscellaneous questions for the diary of the young girl, and these questions can come as 10 markers in your examination. So let's begin. First question. Describe Anne's school life. What trouble did she have with her maths teacher? Answer. Anne's school life was on the whole happy. She had a number of friends, though she thought there was none who could be called her best friend and confidant. There were many boys who were her admirers, but she ignored them all. She, however, loved Peter, but it was a secret. Anne was not very a brilliant child or student like her sister, but she fared well in her studies. Her parents did not bother too much about her grades. However, she had a real problem with her maths teacher, Mrs. Keesing. Mr. Keesing would often give her extra homework as punishment for talking too much in the class. Once she was asked to write an essay on the subject, a chatterbox. She argued in the essay that talking is a female trait, that she could not completely rid herself of the habit. Mr. Keesing had a good laugh at her arguments. Again, she was asked to write an essay entitled Quack Quack Quack. Said Mistress Chatterback. With the help of her friend San, she wrote it in verse. Mr. Keesing was amused and then left, making any attempt to change Anne's habit. Second question. How was Anne's 13th birthday celebrated? Answer. Like her previous birthdays, it was a happy day for Anne. On February 12th June, her birthday, she woke up quite early but went to her parents only at 7. She got a number of presents on the occasion from her parents. She got a bouquet of roses, some peonies, a potted plant, a blue blouse, a game, a bottle of grape juice, a puzzle, etc. She also got a diary which she considered to be one of her nicest gifts. Then in the company of her friend Hanley, she went to school. During breaks, she handed out biscuits to her teacher and her classmates. As it was her birthday, she could not decide which game her classmates would play. She chose volleyball. She came back home delighted. Her birthday party was held on Saturday afternoon. Her classmates were delighted to see the Rin Tin Tin film. She got 2 brooches, a bookmark and 2 books. Next question. In what circumstances did the Franks have to go into hiding? Answer. The Germans began to send call-up notices in large numbers. The called-up notices meant deportation, persecution, and death. Many Jewish families sought refuge in secret places. Anne's sister Margot got a call-up notice. It threw the whole family into panic. Luckily, Anne's father, Otto Frank, had already made plans for hiding and sent a lot of necessary things to the secret place in his own office building. So when the call came, the Franks packed up hurriedly. At 7:30 on Sunday, 5th July 1942, the Franks closed the doors behind, leaving only a pet cat behind. Margot left on her bike. Anne and her parents, wrapped in heavy clothes, went on foot in the pouring rain. Some onlookers felt pity for them, but dared not to do anything for them. After the Franks had settled in the Annex in the office building, the Van Dans, another Jewish family of 3 members, also arrived. The 8th member, Mr. Albert Dussel, joined them quite late. Some employees working in Otto Frank's office continued to provide necessities of life to the persons in hiding. They did everything braving grave risk to their lives. Next question. Briefly mention some of the incidents which frightened the persons hiding in the Annex. Answer. The persons in hiding remained in fear of being detected and apprehended. On 30th September 1942, Anne had a horrible fright. The doorbell suddenly rang. Anne thought that someone was coming to get them, but nothing happened as there was no one. Then one day, a Jewish chemist came to conduct some experiments in the kitchen. The hiding persons were in dread lest he should come to know of the Annex. Anne had to sit still for hours, which was difficult for her. Then a person came to fill the fire extinguishers, left his tools on the bookcase and banged on the door. He created a general scare among the inhabitants. On another occasion, Mrs. Van Daan heard loud footsteps. She got fearful and awoke her husband in panic. The Van Daans also got frightened by some ghostly noises made by big rats. The noise of the guns at night was already a matter of great concern and fright. The loud bang of fire bombs robbed the sleep of the Annex resident. One night they remained scared because of the frequent air raid alarms, the drones of the planes, and the sounds of the falling bombs. Next question. Give an account of the burglary attempts in the Annex. Answer. The scare of burglars entering the Annex was real. One night Anne's father and Peter heard some sounds. Someone seemed to fiddle with the door. Peter and Anne's father rushed downstairs and took positions near the staircase. They heard a couple of bangs followed by silence. Mr. Van Daan had come upstairs frightened. After a long time where nothing happened, it was presumed that the burglars must have taken to their heels on hearing footsteps. But later everyone wondered how the burglars could come so early in the evening. The thought was scary. After a few months, a burglary attempt succeeded. Peter found that both the warehouse door and the street door were open. It was later found that the burglars found nothing worthwhile to steal in the warehouse. Then they tried their luck on the next floor. They stole 2 cash boxes containing 40 gliders, blank checkbooks and coupons for 330 pounds of sugar, their entire allotment. Next question. What does Anne describe about the lunch and dinner times in the Annex? Answer. At 12:30, the Annex inhabitants would feel free after Mr. Van Maren and Mr. Decock had gone home for lunch. They would start their usual course. The vacuum cleaner would begin its thud in Mrs. Van Daan's room. At 12:45, all the persons would trickle in one by one. At 1:15, there would be food distribution. At 1:45, everyone would rise from the table and go about their business. The next hour would be the quietest hour of the day, when they were asleep. At dinner times, Mr. Van Daan would always be served first. He would feel free to choose anything he liked. He would join the discussion with firm opinions. Mrs. Van Daan was never happy with whatever she got, though she would always choose the best of all servings, the best potatoes, the tastiest morsel. She would not eat quietly. She would continue to talk and pretend to know everything. Peter and Margot both ate little and remained quiet. Anne's mother had a good appetite. And her father ate modestly. Anne's father was very modest. He always looked to see whether the others had been served first. Mr. Duzzle was a voracious and silent eater. Anne observed humorously. He consumes enormous portions and no is not part of his vocabulary, whether the food is good or bad. Next question. How did Anne come to lose her fountain pen forever? Answer. Anne's fountain pen was one of her most prized possessions. She valued it highly. The pen came from her grandmother. When she was 10, she was allowed to take it to the school. To her surprise, her teacher allowed her to use it. When she was 12, she got a new case for it. When she was 13, she carried it to the Annex. One afternoon, she was about to sit down at the table to write. Suddenly, Father and Margot pushed her to a corner as they wanted to practice their Latin. The fountain pen remained unused on the table. Anne began rubbing beans. At 5:45, she swept the floor and tossed the rotten beans along the dirt into the stove. A big flame leapt up. Later, when Anne wanted to write, she could not find her pen anywhere. Everybody looked for it, but in vain. Father emptied the stove and discovered the clip used to fasten the pen to a pocket. He said the pen must have melted into the stove. It was a big and sad loss. Next question. Describe the worst break in the Annex building which brought the police to the secret door. Answer. One Sunday afternoon, 9th April 1944, Peter came to report the burglary. The men went down. The warehouse was being broken at that time. After half an hour, Father and Mr. Van Daan came up, looking pale and desperate. They alerted everyone about the police. The lights were switched off. The men went back downstairs. Peter, who was on the landing, heard two loud bangs. Mr. Van Daan yelled, "Police!" The sound of hurrying footsteps was heard. The burglars had fled. The broken board was put back in the door. Then a swift kick from outside sent it flying to the floor. One more the panel was replaced. Outside, a man and a woman shone a glaring torch through the opening, lighting up the entire warehouse. The four men raced upstairs. After some time, footsteps on the stairs were heard. A rattling at the bookcase followed. After two more rattlings at the bookcase, the footsteps receded. All through the ordeal, the Annex residents thought that the police had reached their secret door. The next day, Jep told them the man and woman with the torch were Mr. Sleegers, the night watchman, and his wife. Mr. Sleegers then called in a policeman, and the two of them had searched the building. Luckily, the Annex residents were still safe. The secret of the bookcase was not out. Next question. What incident made Anne to disparage all the adults? Answer. Bep, while washing, told Mother and Mrs. Van Daan how discouraged she felt and wanted to know what they offered her. Mother was as usual tactless and made the thing go from bad to worse. She offered her advice that she should think about the other people in the world who were suffering. Anne could not help saying how thinking about the misery of others could help if one was miserable oneself. Mother and Mrs. Van Daan asked her to keep out of conversation of this sort. Anne could not help thinking that the grown-ups were really idiots. She felt that neither her mother nor Mrs. Van Daan understood the feelings of others. Anne felt she could have said something to comfort Bep, but she could not as father came and pushed her roughly aside. They were all so stupid. Anne thought again. Next question. The persons in hiding got arrested on 4th August 1944, and except one, all perished. Do you think fate had been too cruel in their case? Discuss. Answer. On the morning of 4th August 1944, a police party turned up and arrested the 8 people hiding in the secret annex, as well as 2 of their helpers, Mr. Kugler and Mr. Clayman. They took away all the valuables and cash they thought find in the annex. Mr. Clayman was released because of his poor health on 18 September 1944, and Mr. Kugler escaped his imprisonment on 28 March 1945 when he and his fellow prisoners were being sent to Germany. The 8 residents of the annex were taken separately to different concentration camps. Mr. Van Daan was gassed to death while his wife died while being transferred from one camp to another. Peter Van Daan was forced to take part in death march from Auschwitz to Austria, where he died on 5th May 1945. Margot and Anne died of typhus in Bergen-Belsen, a concentration camp. Their mother died of hunger and exhaustion in another camp. Alfred Dussel died on 20th December 1944. Only Anne's father, Otto Frank, survived the concentration camps, escaped to Switzerland, and married again. He published Anne's diary and devoted himself to spread her message of peace to the world. Thus, the fate had been cruel to these 8 Dutch Jews as to millions of their brothers. Thank you. Hope you like this video. This video is a very important video. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, share, comment. Till then, goodbye. Thank you.